Alright, so this is a side angle side triangle. And if we want to solve for, you can solve for any of these, but let's solve for B, side B. We don't know that, so let's go ahead and solve for it. So look for your law of cosines formula that has B squared equals. Alright, so this is the formula we're going to use to solve for side B. So side B, or B squared, is equal to A squared. So do you remember what side A is? It's the side across from angle A. So this right here, this is A, and this is C. So A squared would be 2 squared plus C squared is 5 squared minus 2 times A times C. So 2 times 5 times the cosine of angle B. So if this is side B, this is angle B, and we know that one, 20 degrees. Alright, so you want to work that out. So B squared equals 4 plus 25 minus, it's going to be 20 cosine of 20 degrees. Alright, or 29 minus 20 cosine of 20 degrees. So you can use your calculator. I'm going to pull up the Windows calculator. Alright, make sure that you're in scientific mode if you're using a Windows calculator, and make sure that you have it in degree mode because we're using degrees. Alright, so this is what B squared equals. This isn't what B equals. So what we need to do is we need to work out the right side. So I'm going to say 29 minus 20 times. Now to do cosine of 20, you have to say 20 cosine. Now that's not my final answer. That's not even the right side of my equation answer. I have to put equals. Alright, so equals. So that's what B squared equals. A lot of students, a common mistake is just to write this down for B. But it's not, because this is what B squared is equal to. So you need to take the square root of that. Alright, so square root. Now if I round to 2 places, I have that B is approximately 3.19. Okay. Now I have solved for A, or I have A, B, and C. I don't have angle C and I don't have angle A. All I really have to do is solve for one of these angles. Because remember, the 3 angles of a triangle add up to be 180 degrees. So I'm just going to choose angle A. All right, I'm going to solve for angle A. So go back to your formulas. I would use this formula where I already have solved for cosine of A. All right, so take this formula and plug in your A, B, and C and work those out. Okay. So cosine of A equals B squared plus C squared. So that's going to be, we solved for B, 3.19 squared plus C squared, so plus 5 squared, minus A squared, minus 2 squared, all over 2 times B times C. So B was 3.19 and C was 5. Alright, so be careful whenever you're figuring this out, because you have a lot of stuff to do in the numerator, and then you need to divide it by all of this stuff in the denominator. But what you can do, since you're dividing by a product, this times this times this, You can just work out the numerator and then divide by 2, divide by 3.19, divide by 5. Whatever way you're comfortable with your calculator. But I'll show you what you should get. So this squared plus 25, that's 5 squared, minus 4. All right, so there's your numerator, 31.1761. And then we need to divide by all of this. You can say divided by, if you want to with this Windows calculator, and even with other calculators, you could put parentheses and just multiply out the denominator. Close parentheses and hit equals and get the answer. You should get something less than 1 because we have to take the inverse cosine of this to get the angle measure. All right, so this is what the right side would equal, this decimal. So to find the degree, I have to do inverse cosine. Or on a lot of calculators, it's second cosine. All right, and I got, if I round this to 2 places, 12.23 degrees. Is that what you got? All right, good. Now, you can do the same thing. You can use the formula for the cosine of C to get this angle measure, or to save time, since the 3 angles of a triangle have to add up to be 180 degrees. Angle C is going to equal 180 degrees minus 20 degrees minus 12.23 degrees. All right, so I got 147.77 degrees. And so I've solved for all of the missing values of the triangle. All right, so this was an angle side angle triangle. Let's look at a side 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 triangle. Okay, let's look at problem number 16. This is called a side 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 triangle. All right, so I'm going to copy this one down. Sort of like this. This was 4, this was 4, this was 3. This was angle A there, this was angle B, and this was angle C. So that means, and it's important that you're very careful when you write down your triangle, especially if it's not given, because we need to label the sides so that we know what to plug in our formula. So if this is angle A, this is angle B, and this is angle C, that means this up here is side A, this up here is side B, and this down here, this is side C. All right? So to find these angles, since we know A, B, and C, we just use these formulas here. Now, you can use all 3 formulas and find the 3 angle measures, or I guess the smart thing to do if you want to save time is to solve for 2 of these and then use the fact that the 3 angles of a triangle add up to be 180 degrees. But if you have the time, then you can just work them all out. All right, so let's solve for angle A using this formula here. So the cosine of angle A equals B squared, so 3 squared, plus C squared, which is 4 squared, minus A squared, which is 4 squared, all over 2 times B, which was 3, times C, which was 4. All right, so punch that in your calculator. That's going to be 9 plus 16 minus 16 divided by, see, that's going to be 2 times 3 is 6 times 4 is 24. So now we say, we've worked all this on the right side, so we say inverse cosine. Right, I'm going to round to 2 decimal places. That's 67.98 degrees. So angle A is about 67.98 degrees. All right, now I'm going to solve for angle B using the cosine of B formula. Okay, so cosine of angle B is equal to, going to be 4 squared plus 4 squared minus 3 squared divided by, sorry about that, let's our calculator. This is still the numerator, 23, divided by, now 2 times 4 is 8, times 4 is 32. All right, and so now this is what the right side is equal to, so you do what? Inverse cosine or second cosine. If I round that to 2 places, that's 44.05. B is about 44.05 degrees. Normally, right here, I would just use those 2 angles to figure out the measure of the third angle. But since this is our first time to work this, I'm going to work out angle C as well. So if you want to now, what you could do is say 180 minus these 2, and I better get the answer super close to the answer that you get. All right, if you say 180 minus these 2. So cosine of angle C is equal to A squared, so that's 4 squared, plus B squared, 3 squared, minus C squared, which is 4 squared, all over 2 times A, which was 4, times B, which was 3. All right, so you can see this is 16, this is minus 16, so those 2 will cancel out. And again, we're going to get 9 over 24. So this answer is going to be the same as we got for angle A. But I'm going to plug it in anyway. 9 divided by 24, and then inverse cosine. 9 divided by 24 equals, and then inverse cosine. All right. So I got 67.98 again. Let's see. C is about 67.98. Now, there's a chance if I added those 3 together that they wouldn't be exactly 180 because we're rounding. But you can always check and see. Let's see, 67.98 plus 67.98 plus 44.05. See, we are off by 100th, and that's because I rounded. So that's how you find angle A, angle B, and angle C.